about it day and night. I feel like a king, oh yeah. And baby, can't help but stare. Such a rush, baby. Oh, when you touch me, baby. Such a rush, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, guys and dolls, cats and chicks, you're listening to Viva ENT. We're live on the radio here in Seattle. I'm in the studio with my great producer.
Hey, it's Eric C.C. Ryder.
Yeah. C.C. Ryder. And I'm so lucky to have, at this point in time, I'm going to start calling him my pal.
Yeah, friend of the show for sure.
Friend of the show, Nino Tempo. Say hello to Seattle.
Hi, Seattle. This is Nino.
Yeah.
Real name is Lo Tempio, but my mama cut it short to Tempo.
Very cool. That's good to know, too.
An excellent name for a musician.
Thanks, pal.
No question about it. Nino, it's such a pleasure to always talk to you. You know, we love to talk rock and roll every single week on our show. As a matter of fact, our show is based on rock and roll history, the stories, everything from 1955 right on up. And it's so nice to have a legend, a friend of the show, and it's an honor to have you on today.
Johnny. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, I'll tell you.
Well, thank you so much. I take that as a compliment. Thanks, Nino.
And every time you call me and leave a message, I can tell from your voice that it's you. The voice is extremely distinctive.
Thank you so much. It is indeed, no question about that. It's got me through a lot of years.
Oh, yeah. A lot of bumpy roads in that voice, huh?
Look, it could be, yeah. I've been married 5 times, But let's talk about the fabulous stories that you have. I mean, I could talk about some of my fabulous stories, but what the heck, I'd rather talk about yours.
Well, in what way would you like to know something?
Well, I was thinking the other day, would you be comfortable talking about some of the musicians in your career, being a studio musician?
Oh, sure.
With Phil Spector and the Wrecking Crew and
of course.
And all those characters in the movies. Some of the musicians that you really liked working with, that you respected, you didn't think were, were, you know how musicians are. There's the guys that are kind of normal, and there's the other guys that are lost it. You know what I mean?
Well, the guys in the studio that I encountered, extremely good and versatile musicians. They can change styles. They can meld their way into whatever kind of a feel you want. That's the reason I was more or less valuable as a saxophone player, which is how I started, with Atlantic Records when I was working with the Bobby Darin sessions.
Man, I loved Bobby Darin. What a great performer he was.
Oh, God, Bobby was such a great talent.
Yeah, he was. The first time, I think Dick Clark brought in a review into Las Vegas, and he had Jackie Wilson and Dion, and of course, I think Bobby at that time had gone already, but he opened up the show with the clip of Bobby Darin on American Bandstand walking down the bleachers / stairs.
I know that clip.
And let me tell you what, that was his first, and I could be wrong, that was his first appearance on national TV. And the guy was just cooler than cool, snapping those fingers. He looked like $1 million in that suit.
Oh, I know what you're saying. He was totally together.
Yes, he was. And he's one of the only artists, rock and roll pop idols, that actually had some success in the movies other than Elvis and Frank Sinatra.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Bobby, I'll tell you something about Bobby. He was extremely talented in many ways.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you how we got with Atlantic Records.
Wow.
Okay, Bobby, I was playing saxophone on You Must Have Been a Beautiful Baby and Multiplication. And then I was again hired to play on a Bobby Darin session, and the song that came up was Irresistible You.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure you know the record.
I do, of course.
Sure. So Ahmet Ertegun, who was the founder of Atlantic Records and also one of the owners, he was producing the session, even though Bobby was really producing himself.
Yikes.
That's the truth of it.
I believe it.
But Ahmet was there, and they were doing. We were about to do "Irresistible You."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the way the song goes, as I'm sure you know, but I'm going to tell your audience.
Sure.
Bobby would sing the first little phrase, and then there was a whole bunch of time, like. Your magic hands, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your loving eyes, your kissable lips, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. A lot of space between the phrases.
Uh-huh.
So Ahmet came up to the guys in the band, and the saxophones were myself and Plaz Johnson, who was a terrific saxophone player. And Ahmet said, hey, can you guys think of something to play in those long spaces? When Bobby stopped singing for about 2 bars.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, and I thought for a minute, and I said, how about if we put the Ray Charles piano lick in there and we play it on saxophones in harmony? He said, well, how would it go? I said, it would go like this. Your magic hands, do-do-do, do-do-do-do. Your loving eyes, your kissable lips, do-do-do, do-do-do-do. And Plaz would play with me, like do-do-do-do-do-do-do. We were in harmony in thirds.
Cool.
And it worked out so well that Ahmet kind of got used to me coming up with suggestions. And I enjoyed doing it because I was full of ideas.
I guess you were. Those are ideas that are, The
arranger can't come up with that stuff because
exactly.
he's an arranger. He's not a player.
He's not a player. He's not a musician. And
on another session, Bobby called a break. And I was always watching Bobby because I was learning a great deal about the savoir-faire and how to handle musicians in a recording studio.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, let's take a break, fellas. Let's take 10 minutes. So I went up to him quickly and I said, hey, Bobby, would it be okay if I showed you a song I wrote at the piano?
Yeah.
And he said, sure. I was so surprised. I thought he'd say, well, look, this is a break. I need to go,
Yeah.
But he said, sure. So we sat at the piano. I started playing the piano, and I started singing the song. And within 8 bars, Bobby had already learned the song and was harmonizing with me. That's how fast he picked it up. So when I finished the song, Bobby said, oh, I like that, Nino. Please send it to me. So now who approaches me, unexpected, was Ahmet Ertegun. He said, hey, man, I know you play the horn. He said, but I sense that you do other things. Well, what else do you do? I said, and I didn't have anything to really come back with, but I said, well, I'm putting an act together with my sister, April Stevens.
Right.
And he said, oh, I know who April is. He said, I'd like to hear you sing sometime. Well, that was a lie. We weren't putting anything together. So I said, well, he said, I'd like to hear you sing. So I said, come over to the house sometime, and we'll sing for you. He said, okay, call me in 3 weeks. So little did he know, we were both still living with our parents because we weren't making enough dough to support ourselves. Okay, so 3 weeks later, he comes over, walks in the door. My mother opens the door, and she said, hello, Mr. Ertegun. I'm Nino's mother, Mrs. Tempo. He said, hi. She said, listen, we're sitting down at the table to have some spaghetti and meatballs and sausage and some stuff. Would you like to join us?
The sausage.
Sausage, of course. And I thought he was going to say, well, I don't have time. I just came over to hear Nino sing. And he said, well, I'd love to. I would dearly love to sit down. So he's at the dinner table with us eating pasta and meatballs and sausage and salad, and he was having the best time in the world. So, okay, lo and behold, Then he says, gee, after a while, he said, I'm going to have to leave. I said, well, Ahmet, you haven't heard us sing yet. He said, oh, that's right. I said, oh, that's right. So then he said, yeah, get the guitar and play something and sing something. So I got my guitar, which I couldn't play well, and I played just a little rhythm guitar, and April and I sang, about a third of a chorus together. He said, I want to sign you. I like your sound. And he left.
Cool.
That's how we got started with Atlantic Records.
Wow. And Deep Purple was on the Atlantic label?
Oh, God, yes. It was on the Atco, which
Atco,
is
that's
a
right.
subsidiary of Atlantic.
Right. A lot of big hits off Atlantic Records and Atco.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. I remember, when I was 12, 13 years old, going through the record section and seeing Atco, Atlantic.
That's right.
All the time.
He asked me, what do you want to be on, Atlantic or Atco? And I said, Atco. He said, why? I said, because Bobby Darin's on Atco. So that was my choice.
Bobby Darin was cool as cool, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yes. I learned so much from watching him. It was pathetic.
It's true that, when you have a talent like Bobby Darin and he's in the studio and you just kind of watch his body movements and the way that he presents his voice and his vocal style, you do pick up stuff and you do get ideas and you do learn stuff because...
no doubt about it.
Yeah, and that's...
You know what I learned from Bobby the most? How much not to put into a song.
Uh-huh. That's key,
I had
too.
A habit of doing too much, shtick
Mm-hmm.
in a song. And Bobby would leave spaces intentionally to let the song breathe.
Yeah.
And I thought, God, I got to start doing it like that. And anyway, I just learned from him. He was so good.
Very cool. Nino, we're going to hear a word from our sponsors, and when we come back on the other half, we're going to bring on a special friend of mine. His name is Larry Boleau. He's the owner of the Temple Theater in Tacoma, and he's been sponsoring the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for years. He's dying to talk to you.
Okay, be great.
Okay, man, so hang tight. We'll be back. Or you can say flip-flop and fly.
Your magic hands, your loving eyes, your kissable lips make my heart realize I'm in love, and I know it's true. Cause who wouldn't fall for irresistible you?
This is Johnny the Gangster with Viva Productions, King of Entertainment, one-stop shop for all your entertainment needs. We have DJ service for weddings, corporate, and private events. Thrill your guests with Vegas Nights casino party, blackjack, craps, roulette, poker, and more. We also have event photography and limousine service. Call Viva Productions 206-542-5733 or find us at viva-productions.com. A little less conversation, a little more action, you got it. Call Johnny the Gangster. I'll make you a deal you can't refuse.
Life's a celebration. Grand Event Rentals makes your event their top priority. They are your full-service, special event, and party rental provider, supplying everything you need from start to finish. Their professional sales team and event staff work with you to create your dream event. With every event, Grand Event Rentals customers' needs are the most important. Whether you're planning an intimate outdoor wedding or an elaborate black tie gala, the Grand Event Rental specialists make great pride in providing our event planning experience to help create an unforgettable event. Please go and visit the Bellevue showroom, Grand Event Rentals, or make a one-on-one appointment. Talk to them. They're trained, they're knowledgeable, they're event specialists, and they are going to take you through step-by-step everything that you need to make your day a success. Call Grand Event Rentals. Their number's 425-462-7368, or go to grandeventrentalslaw.com. Brides, do you want your big day to be stress-free, perfect, and stay within your budget? Well, Brides Club has all the inside information to make your dream a reality. Go to bridesclub.com. That's bridesclub.com. See upcoming bridal shows and events, view wedding vendors and special offers. And don't miss The Spotlight, the premier online wedding magazine with valuable articles you can't afford to miss. Brides Club helps make your wedding stress-free and perfect. Go to bridesclub.com. Check out bridesclub.com. Attention business owners. Experience a new world of business with barter. The Saturn Barter Company, located in Tacoma, is one of the most beneficial business decisions you can make. Using Saturn Barter, you are able to sell your products or services to other members of the exchange. You can then use that credit you've built up from your sales to purchase the products or services you or your company needs from other companies within Saturn Barter, all without the use of cash. Contact and join Saturn Barter Club today, 253-212-9930, or online at SaturnBarter.com.
Conversation you won't find on the rest of the dial. Alternative Talk 1150.
From above, you could make the devil fall in love, and who wouldn't fall for irresistible you?
Ladies and gentlemen, guys and dolls, cats and chicks, you're listening to Viva ENT. We're live on the radio here in Seattle. I have Nino Tempo on the radio. I got my great producer, Mr.
It's Eric C.C. Ryder.
Eric C.C. Ryder. And I have my good pal and buddy, Larry Boleau. Say hello, Larry, to Seattle.
Well, hello, Seattle and Tacoma and Nino and Eric and everybody else.
All right. It's great to have you on the show. Nino, Larry knows a lot about rock and roll. So we're going to continue the interview with Nino and his great stories. Larry, jump in there and whenever you want to.
Okay.
So, Nino.
Yeah.
We talked about Bobby Darin.
Yeah.
I love Bobby. Seems like, doesn't seem like, but I know Larry loves him too. Other artists that were that influential with you?
Influential, okay.
Because you really dug Bobby.
Oh, yeah. Bobby was certainly the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Had Bobby not allowed me to show him a song, Ahmet Ertegun would never hear me sing at the piano.
Uh-huh.
There might never be a Nino in April
Uh-huh.
if Bobby wasn't so kind to let me show him the song. But let's see. Other than that, I'd have to say Phil Spector was a big influence.
Cool.
Bill was a great songwriter and a marvelous producer.
You know, everybody thinks of Phil as a producer, of course. Can you give us a clue of some of the songs that he wrote?
Sure. The first song he wrote, which was number one, was "To Know Him Is to Love Him" with the Teddy Bears.
Oh, yeah. That was a big hit.
Oh, major hit.
Did you play?
When Phil came to New York, I met him on July the 5th, 1960.
Yeah.
And the reason I know that is because I flew to New York on July the 4th, and Bobby flew on July the 4th, and we had an appointment at Lieber and Stoller office on July the 5th.
I've had the pleasure of having Mike Stoller on the show.
There you go. And as a matter of fact, I just talked to Mike Stoller yesterday.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, well, we live real close, and we talk all the time. Anyway, so I go up to the elevator, and I'm going in the same elevator with Phil Spector, but we didn't know each other. So we get off the same floor, and we walk the same way. We're looking at each other like, are you following me, or am I following you? So we knocked on the door together, and Mike Stoller opened the door and said, "Hey, come on, guys, you know each other?" I said, "No, I don't know who he is." And Phil said, "I don't know him either." So he said, "Phil, this is Nino Tempo. Nino, this is Phil Spector." So we shook hands and said hello. From that point on, we were fast pals. We were writing songs together. We were both in New York together, broke. We had, I think, $5 between us to exist on a Saturday and Sunday weekend.
What a magical time.
$5 in New York, even then, doesn't go very far.
No.
So Phil knew a songwriter by the name of Beverly something or other, and she had told Phil that she hid $5 below a gargoyle in her apartment, and there was a key planted outside of the door. So Phil and I went to her apartment, and I hoisted him up. He's got his foot in my hands, and I'm hoisting him up. He finds the spare key. We go in the apartment. He's climbing up the bookcase to get to the gargoyle, and under the gargoyle was a $5 bill. So we used to go to Horn and Hardut's with that $5 bill, and we ate fairly well.
That's a great story. Albie, are you trying to chime in there?
Yeah, I see that Phil Spector's old mansion is up for sale now. Did you ever go there, Nino? The one
Oh, yeah,
down
many times.
How was that? Was that a nice spot?
Well, it was actually a kind of a mansion. In and of itself, it was quite spectacular. However,
Yep.
it was in the middle of Altadena, which was a very poor neighborhood. All the little houses surrounding Phil's mansion were little 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom houses. Not very impressive. And he bought down there because he got the best deal. He got it for, I think, $1 million. Whereas if he had to buy something in Beverly Hills, where he was used to living, it would cost him $4 or $5 million. And I knew Phil would not want to spend that much money on a house.
No,
so he was living down there, and I'd go down there, and we'd hang out. He was just about to get married, and I became one of the witnesses at his marriage ceremony. And I knew his wife quite well, and I wished him well. And then the terrible incident occurred.
Yeah. Well, it was there at the mansion, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at the mansion. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
it
too
was.
bad.
It was.
Now,
And Phil, I must honestly say, he changed in those days.
Yeah.
He changed a little bit. I think he was overly impressed with his success. I'll just leave it that way. And
well, I'm not very successful, so I'm not too impressed with myself.
Well, I mean, let's face it. We're all fallible.
Right.
Absolutely.
We all can make mistakes. None of us are perfect, and if you think you're headed for trouble.
Yep.
No question about that. Now, where are you living now, Nino?
I'm living on the dividing line between Beverly Hills and West Hollywood.
Oh, good for you.
It's a nice area.
Yeah,
you've had quite the career. You're just a little guy when you started out, and you're still going. I don't know how many people know your history, but you've done quite a bit in your life.
Well, thanks very much. I look at my life sometimes and I think, oh, maybe I didn't live up to my potential. But
we all can say that, but you've done quite well.
Well, thank you very much. I've been fortunate.
Nino's a legend, and I think Nino's stories is he wishes the Beatles of the British invasion would have happened maybe a year or two later.
That's right.
Because Deep Purple and all of Nino's success, was late November of 1963, and all of a sudden the British invasion hit, and you know what that did.
Oh yeah. Listen, I always wished that the Beatles had waited about 2 years before they emerged.
Yeah.
That would have given us time to become really entrenched. But we had the #1 record with Deep Purple, and we had the most important thing to have after a hit record is the follow-up.
That's correct.
That's the tough one. Mm-hmm. And we had the follow-up. We were very fortunate. It was whispering, and it was just flying up the charts until it got to number 11 with a bullet, and the Beatles hit, and the head of Atlantic called me and said, gee, Nina, Monday we sold 35,000 singles, and Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday, nothing. Thursday, nothing. And from then on, we never sold another record.
That was it. Do you have any stories about Dick Clark? A story about Dick Clark?
Yeah. We used to go on Dick Clark's show quite often. He was very, very kind to us. Very nice guy. Very down to earth. And every time I ever called Dick subsequent to that, I might be calling about a whole unrelated item. And it might take a couple of days, but Dick always returned my call.
Isn't that cool?
Well, that's why he was as successful as he was, because he understood what it took to be a good businessman and a good friend.
That's right. He was a great businessman.
Yeah, he was, and he was very sharp, too, and he was like on top of the current music scenes all through his whole career.
That's right.
Yeah, I liked him. I actually got to meet Dick Clark in 1975 at the Thunderbird Hotel in Las Vegas when when I was talking to you earlier about the Dick Clark review that he brought in. He had Jackie Wilson, Dion, and I think he might have had the Shirelles or somebody similar like the Ronettes or something. I'm thinking the Shirelles maybe.
I'll tell you one thing. I saw when I was in New York. I went to see Jackie Wilson at a stage show, and I never saw such an incredible entertaining as him.
Yeah, I love Jackie Wilson.
Oh
man.
God, was he was magic on stage.
Yes, he was.
It was.
Yeah, he's one of my.
Did you ever meet Alto Reed, Bob Seger's sax player?
I did not.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine, and he said he got some inspiration from you.
I don't know.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I helped a lot of artists in my own way become artists with Atlantic. I called Ahmed and told him I heard the best R&B singer, female, that I ever heard in my life. And he said, "Who's that, man?" I said, "It's Aretha Franklin. I just heard her on the radio. I had to pull over." He said, "I never heard of her." I said, "Yeah, well, go dig her, man." I said, "She's the best." And right after that, they signed Aretha. And when I had Deep Purple, he told me to go into the piano room. There was a songwriter in there. I went in. Here's this big guy. And I sat down with him. I said, "Okay." He started singing. I said, "Oh, my God." So I said, "Well, hold it just a second." So I ran out and I said, "Ahmed, are you putting me on?" He said, "No, why?" I said, "Have you heard that guy sing?" He said, "No." I said, "His name is Otis Redding. Go hear him and see him."
Sitting in the morning sun.
Well, you should have been in the A&R business.
You know what? Ahmed wanted me to be the head of the Atlantic West Coast office at one time.
Yeah.
But I like the way you think.
I like it too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I said, "Well, not now. I want to be an artist."
Yeah.
Maybe later. That was one of the biggest mistakes I ever made.
Well, all the guys that you found, and they would have said, "Well, come on, we'll go out on the road together." So you'd have got it both ways. If I was managing you, that's what I would have told you to do.
Well, we needed a good manager.
Yeah. Did you manage yourself, or did you have a manager?
We didn't have a manager. I had to manage myself, and all of a sudden, after about 6 or 9 months, our careers got cold because the Beatles had hit, and it was essentially over. We had a couple real close hits, like All Strung Out, and some other things which should have gone much bigger. But the Beatles and the British invasion, they owned the world at that time.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Well, who were some of the people that you toured with then?
That I used to work with?
No, you toured with. You'd go out and play.
Oh, well, we toured with the Righteous Brothers very often, the Blossoms.
Oh, yeah.
Who, the lead singer was Darlene Love.
Uh-huh.
And we were touring them, doing one-nighters. Oh, my God. One-nighters. Within a 52-day period, we played 50 jobs.
Yikes.
50 different...
Well, 100,000 a date, that would be pretty good.
The Righteous Brothers kept it all.
Yeah, I bet they did. I saw Bill Medley last year. I'm friends with some of the people in Chicago, and he was at the show. He still looked pretty good.
He sure does.
Yeah. Do you talk to him at all?
All the time. We're the best of friends.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Great. He's got a new singing partner now.
Yeah, he does, and I hear the guy's sensational.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I heard him over the phone on part of a record. He sounds wonderful.
Well, that's good.
You know, Bill Medley is one of the greatest talents. You know, those TVs, the TV shows in the 60s, Hullabaloo, which you were on, Nino,
right,
and Shindig, those were great shows. You know, it was like a showcase of rock that was, contemporary at the time. And Righteous Brothers used to be on those shows, too.
Oh, sure. They were great entertainers. When we were on the road, every time we would do our portion of the act, then I'd go out in the audience and I'd sit and watch them every single night. They were just so good.
They were good.
Still great today.
They were good.
Huh?
They were great, the Righteous Brothers.
Oh, yeah,
they
no
had a
doubt
great
about
little
it.
act. They had they bounced off each other with the vocals so well. It was incredible.
That's
Now,
right.
did you close your eyes, Nino, when you listened to them?
Did I close my eyes and what?
When you listen to him, when you close your eyes, you don't love me anymore.
No, I didn't have to close my eyes. I knew him too well.
I'm teasing you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Nino, the stories that you have are just incredible, and it's such a pleasure to have you on our show. And, we would love to have you back at least once a month, once every 6 weeks, whenever you're available.
I might run out of material.
I doubt it, really. You've got more material than anybody, being right there in that magical era.
I
in
was
LA.
very, very fortunate, Johnny, to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I lived at the right time.
Have you written a book on your career, Nino?
I have not.
Yeah.
Everybody tells me I should.
LB, we should do something about it.
Well, he'd have to want to do it.
I think he would. I think he might want to do it. I've got a half a dozen.
I'd like to have somebody who's got connections with a publisher. A publisher who realized that I really know an awful lot about that era, in addition to having jazz experience and success and rock and roll vocal success with my sister. I can talk about Phil Spector, Ahmet Ertegun, Lieber and Stoller. Oh, I can go on forever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Albie.
I can also talk about Don Costa, who I knew very, very well.
Clint Eastwood likes to do those musical-type movies and books also.
Clint Eastwood?
Yeah. He did some jazz stuff, and he's I think he had one jazz movie that he did quite a few years ago.
Yeah, it was called Bird, about Charlie Parker.
Yeah,
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
sure, I knew that.
Yeah, he's a big music guy, and he's had several movies with the country theme and back in the day. And
that's right, and a lot of those melodies that you hear, Clint wrote.
Right. So he's definitely a musical talent, no question about it.
No doubt about it. And he's he's got good taste as far as musicians go in music. Good taste.
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent. Excellent. So now we talked about Bobby Darin. And tell me others that you like to work with or that you admired.
Well, a lot of the musicians were wonderful. Glenn Campbell was always, Glenn Campbell played in all our hit records.
Right.
That was before he became a star.
Right.
And then he became a star, and I told him one night, I heard him sing, I said, Glenn, what are you doing sitting in the band? He said, you got a wonderful voice.
Right.
And eventually he was discovered by a guy over at Capitol Records, and that was it for him.
Yeah, I remember his first effort was, I think it might have been Universal Soldier, and were such as the dreams of the everyday housewife, and didn't really take off for him too well. It was about maybe 65, 66-ish, and then finally he hit with General on My Mind. Yeah, I think General on My Mind was before I.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
I believe you're right.
Yeah, so his whole sound with his voice and it was almost like a contemporary country sound.
That's right.
And it was fresh, and he had all the ingredients of country, a little bit of soul in a crazy way, and a little bit of rock and roll. So the
Glenn was a very big talent.
It was a clean package for sure.
He became so big that he no longer would work on sessions any longer. That became beneath him,
Well, yeah, I get that. Any thoughts on Glenn Campbell, LB?
No, I just enjoyed his music, and I really enjoyed the fact that he was such a session man and had done
he was
so many different
he had
things.
it all. There's no question about it.
Back in 1981, whenever that song Southern Nights came out.
Yeah.
It was so fresh. I could not believe. I mean, I did believe it was Glenn Campbell, but it was really a cool sound. And
It sure was.
His voice, and he had those guitar licks and da da.
And
da.
if you notice, the general feel,
Yeah,
Southern Nights was a little bit like Deep Purple.
agreed, 100%.
And to tell you, there's another guy, John Sebastian.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Love Spoon.
What a day for a daydream.
Yeah, such a day.
I met him one time. He said, "You know, the way I patterned Daydream was after Deep Purple." I said, "I thought maybe you did that."
Yeah.
But we all steal a little bit from each other.
And like you said before, Nino, the inspiration for Deep Purple was "Hey Baby."
That's right.
Hey, hey, baby.
That's it.
I
Remember
wanna
the guy who
know.
sang it?
Bruce Chanel.
That a boy.
There you go.
That a boy.
I'm like a rock and roll historian here, Nino.
Johnny's good with rock and roll, but how'd you do in school, Johnny?
I did pretty good.
Oh, that's good.
I went to Catholic school.
Oh, that's good.
So anyway, Glenn Campbell, he just took off. He got big real quick. He did that summer show for the Smothers Brothers.
Yeah, that's right.
And then all of a sudden he had his own show.
Tommy Smothers is a real good friend of mine.
Very cool.
Really?
Did you meet him?
Oh, sure. I knew Tommy, and I knew his brother, Tommy, and I can't think of his brother's name now.
Dick.
Yeah, Dick. We did their very last show on CBS.
No kidding.
The last show they did, that was the show we were on.
Well, they let the politics get in the way of their business, which was too bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I never could believe that show was so popular and it got canceled.
Well, I think, I'm not sure about this, but I think they let their politics get in the way.
Absolutely. That was they swung pretty hard to the left, and I think CBS was pretty hard to the right. And, that was back about 67 or whatever it was, maybe 70.
Sure.
And that was, I don't think a lot of, maybe Paley was still running the place. They just weren't up for that. But, boy, it cost them millions and millions of dollars. But I guess that's the way it goes.
Yeah, when you're in show business and you're an artist, it's best to keep your thoughts to yourself.
Johnny Carson used to say that. Don't talk about religion and don't talk about politics. Now, were you on Johnny's show?
No, I always wish we had been, but we weren't. I wish we had been. That's the show I really wanted to do because I just adore Johnny Carson.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I turn the television on low, and that's how I fall asleep at night. But I couldn't dare put Johnny Carson on because he got so funny. I'd start laughing while I was supposed to be falling asleep, and I would sit up and watch him for the rest of the show.
Yeah, those were great shows.
Oh, God. There'll be nothing like that in the future.
Yeah,
no.
I agree. Entertainment.
Well, I think most of these guys on late-night comedy shows now are pretty much to the left, and I think you either love them or you don't like them at all, and it's I think if you're in the entertainment world, you want to try to get as many people to love you as possible.
Absolutely. Well, I refuse to talk politics with anybody that I don't know.
Well, I think you're much better off.
Listen, I've got enough problems. I don't want more people to dislike me.
No.
The phone rings seldom enough, but if I let all my politics come out, it would never ring.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, that's just the way that it is in life. Even Elvis said, "I like to keep my views to myself." They asked him about the Vietnam War, and he said, "I'm an entertainer. I like to keep my views to myself." And
that's right. Wonderful. That's the way to think.
That's the way to think. Did you ever have a chance to work with Elvis on any of those soundtracks in the 60s?
I did not. I wish I had met him. The closest I came to Elvis, I was playing a saxophone solo on The Girl Can't Help It. The movie with Jane Mansfield.
I love that song, and I love the movie.
And at the beginning of the movie, that's me playing the saxophone over the credits.
The girl can't help it 'cause she was born to please.
Well, that was me. You can see me, wiggling and all that stuff playing. I hated it.
You're on the movie?
Yeah, I'm in the movie. I'm in the front end of it.
What a great movie that was.
Yeah, and after I finished playing that solo, of course they stopped. The music stopped, and there was somebody waving at me from the back where they were in the dark, kind of. And I looked and I said, "Who is that?" And it was Elvis waving at me and giving me the okay sign. He enjoyed
kidding.
it.
So he was on the set when they were making The Girl Can't Help It.
That's right.
That's a fabulous story right there.
Yeah, sure.
And Jane Mansfield.
I wish I had met him.
Yeah, I think it would have been a wonderful time. And Jane Mansfield was fabulous in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
They're like Jane Mansfield.
Did you see that movie, Albie?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was Fats Domino, Freddie Bell and the Bad Boys. Who else was in that movie, Nino?
Oh God.
Everybody at the time.
Yeah, everybody at the time.
I think Eddie Cochran was in the movie.
Somebody by the name of Johnny something.
Johnny Burnett?
No, Johnny. I don't know.
Johnny
It's hard to remember each and every name.
Right. Yeah, but that was one of the coolest movies of all time.
Yeah.
And our listeners, go to YouTube and watch it because it's cool.
Yeah.
And you're in the opening scene.
Yep.
That's real cool, man.
Yeah. There's a young guy with a lot of hair.
She can't help
coming
it.
down his
The girl
forehead.
can't help it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies and tunes of all time. And in those days, those sax solos made the records. Really, I mean, they were like...
They certainly helped a lot.
They were teeth-biting. They were like, wow. It's like it's like the sensation of the song.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, did you play on the sax on the recording of Girl Can't Help It, just the movie?
Of course.
Oh, that is something else, man.
Yeah, they wanted me to squeal and play high, and did all that. Pardon me, but it was crap as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, at the time.
They loved it. That's what they wanted.
I believe it. So we got Glenn Campbell, we got Bobby Darin, and
Phil Spector.
Phil Spector, and Phil. He was really. Were you around when Lennon came in to cut the rock and roll album?
When who came in?
John Lennon.
I'm not getting that name.
Forgive me. John Lennon from the Beatles.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I met John through Phil.
Yeah. How did that go?
Well,
I know they were partying a lot.
Yeah, they were. I had just broken up with my wife.
Yike.
And Phil flew me to New York on the Beatles tab.
Cool.
And
Very cool.
He flew me there, and he knew I was bleeding a little bit over my breakup with my wife.
Yeah.
So I said, "Come on, we'll enjoy some time." So I met Yoko and I met John.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, I'd say, civil, nice, but not overly nice.
Yeah, the British are kind of like that sometimes.
He was kind of like arm's length. He said, "Hello, Nino, nice to meet you."
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. And Yoko.
Did you in the Plastic Ono band? Did you meet Alan White, the Yes drummer? He was in the Plastic Ono band also.
I did not.
Tommy Smothers too was in that.
No, I did not.
Did not.
We all went to a movie that night, John and I and Phil and Yoko, and we walked in the movie in the middle, and we walked out before it finished because they knew he'd be mobbed.
Right.
So that was my experience with John. And then I went into a studio in New York with Phil because he was supposed to be producing John.
Correct.
And when I walked in, the two of us sat down, and John was in the room on the mic, and Yoko was more or less running the session.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Phil was supposed to be producing. That's why he was in New York.
Did she know what she was doing?
I'd rather not say. I'd rather not speak politics.
Okay, I got my answer. That wasn't very nice of me, was it?
No, I think it was a cool question.
Well, she was telling him to do this and do that, and he just seemed a little
odd.
Well,
the whole Lennon Yoko thing was odd to me. I was a big John Lennon fan, and the Plastic Ono Band, the first album, I love that album. I thought it was sensational. But this whole Yoko John thing, I think, just kind of, I don't think anybody was real cool with it.
That Plastic Ono Band, it went from 69 to 74. I didn't realize it was around that long.
Right.
Yeah, it was. I got it. I bought the album when it first came out, and I thought it was great. But the album that we're talking about with Nino is the rock and roll album that Phil Spector was supposedly the producer on.
Yeah.
And did you get a chance to play on any of those cuts?
No, I didn't. I was actually hired as
consultant,
the arranger on some of those things with John.
Uh-huh.
And we got to the studio, and John came in drunk,
uh-huh.
and the band was all there.
Uh-huh.
And when you let the band just hang around, what are musicians going to do?
They're going to do what they do.
That's exactly right. And they're going to tell jokes, and they're going to laugh, and one guy's playing a little of this, and all of a sudden the whole thing fell apart. And John was really drunk.
Yeah.
And we never even got started.
Yeah, those were dark times for him. He was drugging and drinking and
mainly drinking, I would say.
Okay, cool.
He was boozing up pretty good, and Phil was not helping much. Phil would just stay out of the way.
Yeah.
John certainly had a mind of his own.
Yeah. Well, he was a great talent, and he was brilliant at times.
That's right.
And I'm a big fan for sure. And Albie, you knew a couple of the musicians on the Plastic Ono Band album?
I did not.
Yeah, I know Alan White. In fact, I talked to Alan White today. He invited me to go to the Paramount. They call it the Doors. For a fundraiser for the Paramount they do every year. And then Tommy Smothers is living in Kenwood, California, and I see him 2 or 3 times a year, and we talk on the phone.
Very cool.
So I didn't put those two things together till just now, that Alan White and Tommy Smothers were in the Plastic Ono Band.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Smothers was in June of '69, and Alan White was started in '69, and he was in there on and off for a few years. So
it was a unique time because music had started getting heavy.
A little weird, if you want to be.
You're right about that too. People weren't listening to AM anymore. They started listening to FM. Everything changed.
Hey, Nino, did you try to make a transition to what on the British invasion and that whole thing? Did you try to make?
To be honest, we made a couple attempts at it. We did. I realized that was the way to go. But if you're a particular kind of an artist and you try to force yourself into another style,
right?
Sometimes it just doesn't come off.
No, it's pretty
It's
tough.
like a person from New York trying to sing a country song.
Yeah.
They ain't got the right accent, Jack.
Yeah.
Well, that's very true. I wonder if there was anybody that was at late 50s, early 60s. I can't think of anybody that made a successful crossover. Can you?
The only artist
Glenn Campbell maybe, but that's not quite what we're talking about.
Now,
that's right.
Glenn Campbell came a little bit later, but the actual artist that actually survived the British invasion was the Beach Boys for a little while.
That's right.
Yeah.
Elvis survived it. And other than that, there was, and of course the Motown thing had just started at that time. Other than that, it killed every. And of course, in those days, Nino, you know that all the teen idols, Bobby Darin, Fabian, Bobby Rydell, on and on and on, were the mainstream at that time.
Yeah.
And then when the British invasion hit, Ricky Nelson, they were gone overnight, man.
Oh, yeah.
I really like Ricky Nelson.
I did too. Yeah.
I went to school with Rick.
Oh, no
you
kidding.
did?
Tell us.
Hollywood High School.
Tell us about it.
Rick was kind of a quiet guy,
I can see that.
and his brother David was also there. And through the two of them, we talked a little bit about music, but not much. And then the real motivation with Rick Nelson was his father.
Correct.
You know,
Ozzy.
Yeah.
Ozzy. Ozzy was actually, nobody knew, but he was an attorney. He actually became an attorney before he got into music. He was a very, very bright guy, and all of Rick's early tunes. I wanted them with nobody else but you. That song that Rick sang, Ozzy picked all those songs out.
Yeah.
It was Ozzy's talent that got Rick started.
Correct. I understand that Rick was trying to pick, he got a little bit hot at his dad and was trying to pick songs for himself, and they weren't selling quite as well as the ones that Ozzy picked for him.
Well, Ozzy knew what people wanted.
Exactly.
And eventually, Rick developed that sensitivity.
He did.
But at the beginning, he didn't have enough life experience.
Did Rick write his own music,
No,
not really.
He did not. Not at the beginning. I don't know what he did toward the end, but he did not at the beginning.
Well, at the end, he had the Stone Canyon Band, and some of the people that were in that band, I believe, was Randy Meisner from the Eagles, and that Stone Canyon Band that he put together towards the end of his career kind of evolved into Poco and the Eagles type sound. So he was trying to make a comeback, and he was actually getting contemporary, and he scored the big hit with Garden Party. And he was really trying to escape the teen idol image. And I thought that if he had been, if he hadn't had that tragic accident, he may have.
He might have.
Yeah. He might have evolved.
Well, that's the reason he changed early from Ricky to Rick.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah, I bought his first album, Rick Nelson, when I think it was with the Stone Canyon Band.
Uh-huh.
And then he recorded a Bob Dylan song called, what was that? She's Not You, or no, She's Not, something like that. I can't remember the title.
Thing. I believe what you say. When you say you're going steady with nobody else but me. That was Rick's song.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He did a great job on that.
He did a very haunting version, not version, but he really did a great job on Abilene.
I never heard that one.
Abilene, Abilene, prettiest town I've ever seen.
No, I
listen to
never heard
that on Spotify or something. It's one of his best performances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he developed into a very good artist.
Abilene. Yeah, it was a great song. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Viva ENT, bringing the rock and roll legends to Seattle every single week. Nino, we love you on this show. Please come back soon. Say goodbye to our listeners.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening. I hope I haven't shot off my big mouth too much. Actually,
to tell you the truth, we covered a lot of ground, and those stories are incredible. LB, my pal, say goodbye to Seattle. We'll get you back on the show soon, LB.
Well, I don't want to say goodbye to Seattle, but I'll say goodbye to you and Nino. I mean, Christ, Seattle's a big place. I don't want to say goodbye to that.
Well, it's a pleasure speaking with you, my friend.
Saying goodbye to all our listeners. Thank you for listening to Viva ENT. This is Johnny the Capo. We'll dig you now and see you later, because you are a fine sweet potato. Thank you so much for listening, folks. Love ya.
There just ain't enough of you to go around. Just when I'm needing you, baby, you ain't nowhere to be found. Baby, it's getting me down, 'cause I'm all strung out on you, baby. All strung out on you, baby. All strung out on you, baby. Oh, baby, baby.
This is Johnny the Gangster with Viva Productions, King of Entertainment, one-stop shop for all your entertainment needs. We have DJ service for weddings, corporate, and private events. Thrill your guests with Vegas Nights Casino Party, blackjack, craps, roulette, poker, and more. We also have event photography and limousine service. Call Viva Productions 206-542-5733 or find us at viva-productions.com. A little less conversation, a little more action, you got it. Call Johnny the Gangster. I'll make you a deal you can't refuse.